Hey guys, welcome back. So today I have two of my very similar 18 scale RCs out here. This one in particular I've had for a little bit over a month at this point, and I think at this point I can make a pretty good judgment call on whether this thing is a successful model or not. This is the TOYS 18 scale A979-B. So the B in particular stands for the fact that this is the upgraded version. And this does have the 540 size motor, and its claimed top speed is 70 kilometers per hour. This is quite fast. If you go with a slightly older version without the B, they claim only 50 kilometers per hour. And here we go. This is a Dromida MT4.18BL. This is an 18 scale brushless four-wheel drive truck. In terms of price-wise, and I guess that's what's most important here, let's just start talking about that price-wise. So this one I paid, I think, about $60, $70. Normally they sell for around $80 on eBay and multiple Chinese websites like Banggood and GearBest. So let's say 80 bucks. This one I picked up for, at the time, I think it was $90. It was on a massive discount at towerhobbies.com. Normally these retail in the mid 100, so probably about 150 to 170 is what you would expect to pay. So let's just, other than the fact that I got this on a really good deal, in which case I wouldn't pay so much for an 18 scale RC. This is basically, let's just have this going into this video. This one right here, the Dromida, is about twice the price of the WL Toys. So let's just kind of keep that in mind as we do this comparison, so neither of these kind of pisses us off, right? So the first thing, and let me point this out now, the tires. I gotta say, these are good looking tires on WL Toys, right? They're nice and beefy compared to these road looking type tires. But big negative, these have no foam inserts. Look at this. So when I press the tire, look at that. Look at that deflection. So guess what happens when you're going high speed? You have massive, well, other than torque steer, and the tires are just terrible. They don't hold the road at all, and you could see that in pretty much any of these videos you pull up on YouTube where people do high-speed runs. Very hard to control. These tires I'm actually very satisfied with. They have normal foam inserts. They're nice, soft compound. They don't deform that much at high speed, and I gotta say, they do exactly what you expect them to do. I took this car to kind of a small oval RC track, and it runs really well, to be honest with you. I was actually very surprised. The next thing, let's just talk about the shocks. Now, whenever you're talking about, Chinese RCs or kind of low-end RCs, shocks are always an issue. You're lucky that they even have oil-filled shocks. And this one in particular does have oil-filled shocks, which I was very surprised about. But look at this. So this one also. Look at that. You see the rebound rate on this one right here? It's just super quick. And guess what, guys? This is after I filled the shocks with shock fluid. Before, it was just terrible. It was horrendous. It didn't do anything. It was like a spring. So, not the worst thing ever, but this is basically as good as it's going to get with 80 weight shock roll. And 80 is pretty up there. I mean, look at what these shocks do. And this is factory. I did not rebuild the shocks on a Dromida. Look at that. So, I got to say, it controls really well. No issues at all. Look at that. When you just drop it, it just sits. Look at that. It just takes it. This one, it's just bouncy. You see that? Especially the rear. You notice how it rebounds faster than the front? And I have the shocks exactly on the same setting and with the same exact shock oil. So what do you think that's going to do for you at high speed? Well, of course, it's going to handle like crap, and which it does handle like crap. So I honestly, out of both of these, I do not look forward to driving the WL Toys at all. I look forward to driving the Dromida. Okay, so let's take off the bodies and see what we got inside and take a small little gander in comparison of both. Alright, so we got the main chassis layout. As you could tell, they're basically similar. They're both four-wheel drive, shaft drive systems with kind of this top and bottom pan chassis design, which is common. This is what you would expect. It's kind of similar to most buggies and stadium trucks, those sorts of RCs. This one, nice thing actually, guys. You have these kind of aluminum caps on top, which is good. We have just basic kind of, plastic shock caps here. Otherwise, the shocks seem to be about similar size. Of course, the Dromida ones do seem to kind of be a little bit of a larger volume. But that's neither here or there. What I noticed the most, and just you tell me, I mean, I'm going to do this. So, try to see if you see what I'm trying to talk about. Just look at that. I'm barely kind of moving them. Look at that chassis flex. It's insane. I've never seen a chassis flex so much. let's do the same thing to this Dromida. You know, I'm applying about the same amount of pressure, and you have fairly minimal chassis flex, honestly. This chassis is fairly rigid. You know, next thing about the chassis, you have just massive steering slop in all the parts, and just general slop. I mean, look at this. So the links they're using here are just these fixed basic links for the camber caster, and basically all the settings. You have just massive slop. You know, when you're driving, half the time when I'm accelerating and braking, the wheel will just automatically kind of go a little bit this way, go a little bit that way. Although you have a servo saver, but seems to be working fine. The servo is pretty good, actually. It's just the steering slop in all these parts. Like, I could easily move all these links here. You know, they're not supposed to be that easy to move, so they just have a lot of slop built in themselves. Normally what you would like to see are these kind of snap-on adjustable links, like we have in this Dromida right here. These are really tight. You know, I can't even kind of move them with my fingers. They're on that well. So in terms of suspension part travel, it's still very good. So I don't know why they couldn't go with those, but that's the choice they made. One of the good things about the WL Toys is it comes with a 2-cell LiPo. So the LiPo mounts pretty nicely, actually. It's pretty convenient with this kind of Velcro strap. And you know what? I did check whether this runs with the 3S, and it does power on, and it runs fine with the 3S, with a small 3S pack. The only question is mounting. Of course, I had to just kind of, you know, strip it in here with like tape or zip ties. But the system does run with a 3S, although it does heat up, so be careful. You don't want to kind of, you know, overdo it on the ESC. Here we just have a regular old-style nickel metal hydroxide pack. And it worked, but you could easily just put in a regular LiPo here and you'll have the same effect. This is still really fast compared to this, guys, even though they claim that this is 70. I mean, I don't know how you could even go over half of that, because it's just the steering, everything about the car is just so squirrely. Another thing I noticed, and you could tell that the way they mount the motors is basically identical. They're both kind of in the back and the right of the chassis. It's just the way that the actual drive system here is protected. There's always, no matter what you do, just sand seems to get into the spur gear. Now, when a sand seems to get into the spur gear, it sounds exactly like you have a strip differential. Now, that's not what you want in one of these cars, because in order to replace a part, it's going to take you forever, guys. I've never had any issues with sand on the Dromida, even though they seem to have a similar type of cover. They're using similar hardware to secure all of this. So I don't know how come, you know, WL Toys couldn't figure that out. It seems to be pretty secure to me. I don't even see any obvious holes in here. But sand instantly, no matter what you do, it just gets in there. And I'm not talking about even driving out at the beach. Just talking about just normal street driving. There's always kind of little grains of, you know, sand and dirt all around. In terms of drivability, like I said before, you just have an insane amount of torque steer. But other than the torque steer, it's just the way they set up their diff system. So you see how I spin this wheel, the other one spins with it, and like the amount of pressure there is just incredible. Now, you know, some of it is attributed to the fact that the motor has a cogging mechanism. So basically, as you're spinning it, you're also spinning the commutator in there, and I'm sorry, the armature. But it's just, you know, as you could tell, I have these two parts out here in the front, the two front dog bones and the drive cups. I took out the front drive for this RC because just the four-wheel drive system is just, you know, it basically, the way the diffs are set up, they're too tight. And when you're cornering, it's almost undrivable. And this RC, as you could tell, as I spin one set of wheels, you see that? The other one easily spins. So the amount of load on the diff is minimal, which is good. That's what you want. Same thing with the front. Yet here, for some reason, when I spin just this, it for some reason spins the motor. You know what? If the diff was not as tightly packed, or just tight in general, it wouldn't have to spin the motor in, you know, alongside that. So normally this is what you want to see. This is going to give you a nice kind of turn performance when you're going in and out of a turn, just because the diff is not as tightly packed. But other than that, you know, which one is, I guess, what here is going to last longer? Of course, the Dromida. Now, the Dromida itself is not a high-level brand, hobby-grade RC. Some people consider it toy-grade, but this particular model, I will consider this hobby-grade. This is the Brushless 5300 kV motor system with a brushless ESC. So this particular one I would consider hobby grade. Obviously anything with a brush system I probably would not. In this one in particular, hobby grade or not, you guys be the, make the call. You do have a lot of metal parts, as I just showed you here, including the center drive shaft is metal in here. But just in terms of, being able to use the potential of this 540 motor, there's absolutely zero potential. And something also has to be said about the fact that using a 540 type motor drains the pack super quick, guys. We're talking like 5 or 6 minutes of runtime with this LiPo, just because the power drain from this motor is just insane. The power drain obviously on a smaller brushless is minimal. Even if you put in a LiPo battery here, obviously you would have much more power. But I'm fairly satisfied with just the power and speed of the Dromida here. And this one, I actually don't even look forward to driving it. It's just kind of a silly thing. And kind of what else we could point out that's interesting, kind of an engineering decision they chose to make. If you look at the wheels here, they're using 2 nuts on the wheel. So there's actually 2 nuts here. So you have to tighten one, then you have to tighten the other. So, when you're taking it off, it kind of makes it kind of interesting to get the wheel wrench in there, because, you're also kind of tightening the second one at the same time. But there's 2 of them in there. I don't know what the difference is. I've never really had a single wheel nut fall off. Dromida is using just a single wheel nut here, and it seems to be fine. I never had any issues. The nuts themselves are pretty good. They have the plastic that you would expect them to have, the little nylon threading. So it's pretty secure in itself. But there it is, guys. Just kind of my own opinion and comparison of these 2 RCs that I think are pretty much in the same segment. Obviously, you could see what you get for double the price. You get a brushless system. But other than that, they're pretty much similar layout. Although you probably will not be looking forward to driving this one after you realize that it drives like crap. That you can't even get it going normally past half of the speed that they claim that it goes. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And if there's any kind of other comparisons you want to see with these RCs, maybe a top speed comparison, I'll be more than happy to put those up once I make those videos. And until next time, thanks so much for watching, guys.